Thank you, K-Rob. Before the good doctor comes out, folks, I'm very excited to introduce a man, a myth, a legend in his own mind, and we're thrilled that he's here. And he's going to talk to you all about the latest and the greatest things having to do with the nether regions of the outer worlds. Yes, I'm talking about the one and the only. Give it up. A round of applause for Pete Goldie, ladies and gentlemen. The good Pete. Peter, do you hear Pete? Oh, wait, Pete? Oh, I think Pete's in the bathroom again. You know, ever since he got that colostomy bag, it's been harder and harder for him to actually be on stage. So, if we clap really loud for Pete Goldie, he'll come and tell you great things about space. All right, Pete Goldie, everybody, Pete! Come on, Pete! I swear to God, he's gonna flush that toilet soon, folks. And when he does, we sprayed that Febreze. That Febreze is being sprayed. And I think I hear him coming out of the bathroom right about now, making his way to the door. He's gonna talk about the Cassini Spacecraft, and he's gonna talk about asteroids flying around space and comets. Pete, how much did you pay K-Rob to make that? No?
Hi, John.
Hi, Pete.
How you doing?
I'm good. You look smaller over there.
Yeah, this is a little different.
That's good for you.
I don't think many of you know, but John Hell has, well, he says he has a day job, and he says he works in a high school, or he's like hanging out in a high school. He promised that the AV squad was going to be here tonight to help me out. Because you gotta understand, this is not the entertainment part of the Ask Dr. Hal show. This is the educational part of the Ask Dr. Hal show. And you'll just have to bear with me. We haven't had a proper space science report in some months.
And a lot of people have not actually, suffered from that.
Right, and that doesn't leave you out of all the material that has happened since the last report. That will also be covered.
Does that mean this is going to be like 5 times as long as the normal science report?
Well, they're always very brief. So this will not be very long. But all the material is covered and is important, and it's important we get to it. But we don't have the regular AV squad that we usually have here. It's going to be a little bit jerky as we get things up on the screen for you. But all the stuff is important. You will pay attention to it, and we're going to begin right away. There you go. Look at that first picture there. Where were you this morning? At about 4:30. The lunar eclipse, that's right. You people probably are a little bit more in tune with what's going on in our natural world than those stupid people who live in San Francisco. Because that place, as you know, is covered all the city lights and big buildings and fog and all that. We don't even know if there's stars out there, except I know because I tell everyone about it. So there was a lunar eclipse that happened this morning, and if you didn't know about it, you missed it, and if you did know about it, it's over. But it lasted for about 420 minutes, and it was pretty incredible. It did not complete while you were viewing it from here at Coin Arena because the moon set before it had reached its full, complete its totality. If you were in Hawaii, it must have been incredible. Anyone see it in Hawaii last night? This morning?
Yeah.
That's a liar. But anyway, what we're going to do is go over some important space things here, and I'm going to be bringing them up for you.
Oh my God!
It's can you believe that? What are you looking at? That is a space-oriented pair of airplanes. What are those two things? Flying over Rogers Lake, which is also called Edwards Air Force Base in Southern California. Those are 747s. Those are the two planes that used to ferry the shuttle around. And since we've last done an Ask Dr. Hal show, the Space Shuttle program has concluded no more shuttles will be launched. And they have two 747 specially modified to ferry these things cross country. They took out all the seats, they made them as light as possible, they put in all these things, they put those little winglets on the rear stabilizers. You can see it's a very special. Both of these planes can be purchased by you, the taxpayer who paid for them already. Buy them again. They're only $420 million, and they are yours to keep. You can get those. And I just want you to know, because that's part of our space program. Not only do we have a space program, the Russians have a space program.
Oh no!
And the Russians, about 3 weeks ago, launched an incredible, really ambitious, exciting mission to
Where?
Nowhere!
the moon of Mars called Phobos. That's right. They launched it there. They were going to send it there. This is an artist rendering of what the spacecraft would have looked like as it was approaching Phobos. It was really pretty incredible. It had, if I can point out some of the details of it, that's a spacecraft. That's Mars.
Which one?
That's Phobos. Okay. And the spacecraft there has a lot of parts, and it was carrying a small satellite from China. It would have been the first Chinese satellite to orbit Mars. Anyway, the Russians launched this thing, and it's still in space. Actually, it's still in Earth orbit 3 weeks later. Because unfortunately, the motor here, which is called a I think it's called a frigate motor, and it's a special, very interesting motor. It did fire to take them into the trans-Martian lunar intercept orbit that they needed to get into to actually get it. It's still in orbit. They can't communicate with it. What they think happened is it took off and the computer reset. And if they could only communicate with it and send an instruction, reboot the computer, fire the engines, off we would go. Unfortunately, because of a deliberate design error, the antenna that communicates with the spacecraft is covered by that booster rocket because they had it all automated and they figured, we're not going to talk to it until it fires and throws away that rocket. Well, bad news. It's still in orbit, and there are many other reasons that they cannot communicate with it. They got just a few bits of data out of it to know that its solar panels open, it's properly oriented, and it's circling in a highly elliptical orbit. And slowly, its fuel is freezing. Its re-entry date is set for January 6th. Pay attention to this. 16 tons of highly toxic hydrogen frozen. It will reach the ground somewhere around January 6th. Keep your eyes open for this guy. But I really think it's a pretty cool project. It was very ambitious. Why did it fail? What did they do wrong? Well, I'll just point out, this is where they were going to land on Phobos. They had two possible points to put it down. It's not going there. This is them putting together the spacecraft. You can see how big it is when they're doing that. I don't know about you. I get my van worked out in a place in San Francisco called House of Breaks. It's cleaner than this clean room. If you look at it, you see this guy wearing sneakers, that guy's wearing dungarees and sneakers. They're standing around. And it's not how we build things here in wonderful corporate America.
That's like your dream garage, isn't it, Pete?
What? No, actually, my dream garage is a little bit different. Yeah, this is my dream garage, would be parked in there. This is the Mars Science Laboratory. They gave it a name called it Curiosity. This was launched about 2 weeks ago, and guess what? Its booster engine, the third stage, did fire. It's on its way to Mars. The vehicle you see here in front of you, this 1-ton SUV-sized Rover with an atomic ass, will land on Mars. It will absolutely impact on Mars. And hopefully, if the sky crane and the parachutes and everything work just as these guys dreamed up down there, all those incredibly smart people, underpaid, but very, very excited about working, do it. If it drops down there, it's going to run and do some really amazing things.
Like church air.
Do you want to know where it's going? That's Mars, ladies and gentlemen. It's going there. That's called Gale Crater. It's going to land right about where the green dot is. Only they're not going to have the green dot there.
Hey, Dr. Science, I have a question. If they're building this thing in a
I'm sorry, who's talking to me?
I am, your God.
Oh.
If they're building this thing in a sterile
I don't think you understand how the Ask Dr. Hal show works.
Pete, you don't get money for questions.
You ask Hal questions. You don't ask the science guy questions.
You now.
I tell you things.
If the garage is sterile, then doesn't it get dirty on Mars? Aren't they worried about it working after it gets dirty again?
That's a good question, Pete. What do you say to that?
There was no money in the envelope. So we're going to just keep moving on here. Let's try there, Campbell. I'm sure that if you put that to Hal, you're going to get a damn better answer than from me. Absolutely. But there's another thing flying on that mission that's going there. Do you know you could put your name on it?
Whoa!
And guess whose name is on it? Well, my name is on it. K-Rob's name is on it.
Is that getting heavier and heavier?
Yeah.
Hal's name is on it.
With names.
You know, the entire Ask Dr. Hal staff is on a microchip going to to Mars. They're going, oh, John Hell, no. No, your name isn't on it, John.
I don't want to be on Mars, but
I'm
there's
sorry.
people there.
That's too
What about
bad.
Doug? Is Doug's name on it?
Puzzling evidence has been there already. He's actually seen it. But you know, there's other things going on Mars while you're at it. This was just discovered on Mars. Look at it. It's a tiny little vein. It's about 1 meter long and about 1 inch wide of gypsum.
Passing lane.
And everyone here, I think, loves and appreciates drywall, right? They found drywall on Mars. There you go.
How could that be?
And this is very important because drywall on Mars, they're just trying to confuse you. Drywall can't be built without water flowing. Because gypsum, the calcium and the other materials, the sulfur, and all those things that make up gypsum only will form where there's running water. So this picture alone is proof positive that once upon a time, long, long ago in the ancient history of our Martian neighbor, there was flowing water because they have drywall waiting for us. Yep. And again, I want to give you some statistics while we're at it, because we're sending rovers there. It would have been a great mission. Oh, by the way, that mission Phobos Grunt that was the Russians were sending up, that was actually going to return a soil sample from the Martian moon of Phobos. And it had a terrible name, Phobos Grunt, but grunt is the Russian word for dirt. So it was called Phobos Dirt. We can do it. But I'd like to point out that our incredible rovers that we've already sent there, how far have they driven? You can read the chart there. This is the Spirit rover down here. Sojourner was that little experimental thing that went with the Pathfinder mission. There's the Spirit. That thing broke about 1 year ago, and they're not going to fix that. We, of course, had rovers on the moon, Apollo 16, 17, and 15. They all put down some miles. This is the Opportunity for rover. It's just reached the Endurance Crater, and it, as you can see, has driven over 21 miles, doing great. But the winner still is, and ahead of that, well, is the Lunar rover. And on top of that, Lunar Eclipse 2. Lunar Eclipse 2 was a rover that the Soviet Union, back when the Russians had all sorts of other countries under their wing, landed there and drove around on the moon for 23 miles until it fell into a crater. And it was an amazing mission, except pretty much all of those rover drivers had to drive it continuously, 24 hours a day, in a room with Khrushchev yelling at them the whole time. And the only thing they did was drive around and avoid craters carefully. They now know where it is because our satellites have seen it down there. They really did it. A pretty cool mission that they did. But we're going to pass that with our rovers here. And then when the Opportunity or the Curiosity rover lands there with its atomic ass, that thing is going to put so many miles.
Language.
I'm sorry.
Really? Come on.
It's
a family show.
Our Martian rover there with an atomic buttocks.
Thank you.
Okay. When it lands there, it's going, if it successfully gets there and everything unfolds all right and pops up, and it's got a lot of miles. It's gonna be great. Anyway, moving right along, everyone's been paying attention to the news going on there. You probably all heard that we're finding planets around distant stars. Well, the most recent one they found resembles the Earth in some fact. In other words, it's a little. There we go. Kepler 22b is a planet found around a star north of Cygnus in the constellation Cygnus, and it's looking to be in a good habitable zone. If we can only get there. Of course, it's about 420 light years away. We could never, ever get there. It would be a really long distance to go. If we were to go there in our fastest rocket ship, it would take about 120,000 years to reach it. So, sorry about that, boys and girls. But yeah, there's probably livable Earths out there. And how do they find that? Well, this is the sensor on the Kepler mission the Kepler spacecraft, which orbits Earth and is staring at one part of the sky to see if there's any variation in the starlight to detect planets. This is the largest camera pixel sensor you've seen. It's better than any iPhone you guys have. I'm serious. And it's not like they took, like 24 iPhones and just attached them together to make this. They actually built this deliberately to go into space with all the right parts and, lots and lots of pixels and all the pieces to put together. It's really a very cool mission. You know another cool thing about that spacecraft, John Hill? Now, Pete? Well, it's going to find monsters.
What's our daughter of?
You could also put your name on that one.
Always like slipping
The
a
entire
child.
staff of the Ask Dr. Hal show's name is on that spacecraft, the Kepler spacecraft. Hal's name is on it there.
Wow.
Yeah, except
What's this Harry Robbins guy?
John Hell's name, I'm sorry, is not on the Kepler.
'Cause I know better, man. Nobody actually ever landed on the moon
Very
anyway. You know this bogus crap about people landing on the moon, going into outer space. Come on, man.
Okay,
I don't like to say.
I want to tell you about another exciting thing in space. Actually, this is something you can be involved with if you have an internet connection. There's something called the Digital Sloan Digital Sky Survey. And with that, I'm sorry, I found
Usually when you show
something
pictures of
different.
your daughter, the show is over.
I'm going to show you something different. This is not about that. This is about an asteroid mission called Dawn. And Dawn has, since we've last had an Ask Dr. Hal show, has reached the asteroid Vesta. Here's the path that it launched from Earth. You've heard of Earth, September 2007, and it's been using an ion drive, just like Star Trek, everybody. An ion drive continuously running for months and months and months at a time. You can see how long it was on. It's a very, very subtle electron. It's actually xenon atoms, which are accelerated by solar cells with electricity. So this spacecraft runs by electricity and has reached Vesta in July. It's right about here. It's going to do a pretty cool thing. After it goes to a low mapping orbit around Vesta, it's going to leave Vesta and fly to another asteroid, Searing, which we'll get in February of 2015. It's going to hang out there for a while, and then who knows what they'll do with it. They'll probably have something left and make TV commercials out of it or something.
Sky rockets at night.
Yeah.
Ring. Pete Goldie's getting long-winded.
Do you want to know what the pictures it took when it finally got there? All right, let me show you those pictures.
Okay. All right.
I think you'll like it.
I'm so excited at the beginning of this.
Tell me if you like this. There it is. Yes, that's right. That is Vesta, and it's got. If you might look at those racing stripes right on the crater. Anyone want to explain those?
Pete, I bet you do.
I would like to explain those, but they're really hard to explain. Our top scientists have not explained this yet. You would think, hey, it's a ball bearing was rolling against something. You just made those grooves. No, actually, all of those grooves are, if you get close enough resolution, it appears that they are all long series of small craters. So how would you have a long series of small craters wrap around the entire circumference of a planet? Well, we'll figure it out when it's
Let's put on the show.
And we're happy about that.
I know, it's only about another hour of this, right?
We're doing good.
Oh, the side
And it took a picture of that. And the picture, of course, they put false color in, and the false color says, "Hey, all our stuff's working." I'm not going to say anything else about it.
What?
There. Oh, by the way, did you know?
please.
Yes, you can put your name on that spacecraft. The entire staff, the Ask Dr. Hal show, is on that, including the former host, Chicken John Bernaldi.
Former.
And let's have a yes, Chicken John is no longer with the Ask Dr. Hal show. He wanted to spend more time with his family, and he's left us behind here. But we have John Hell and no spacecraft with his name on. Yeah. Anyway, I want to show you something
Oh, come now.
far, far away.
Really?
Yeah, this
Is that you back in San Francisco?
This, I was getting into the, that green, what is that green thing? Obviously above that, it's a galaxy. Any telescope, even mine, will show you that. What is that green blob below that? That was found by an amateur looking through digital photos taken by the Sloan Digital Sky Survey. And it is so unique that it got its own name. It's a teacher from Holland. A woman named Hanny found it, and it's
You made that up.
It's called Hanny's Verrückt. And it's a Dutch word for object.
You made that up.
And then now this word, which is povroka, is the official space term for things that are weird looking that they find in the Sky Survey, and it has been kicked up a notch. They now have the Hubble Space Telescope taking pictures of these cool things that have been found that the amateurs are finding. And it's a little thing called Galaxy Zoom internet connection. You can join, find things, get your name, make a discovery.
Wait for it.
Then the Hubble will come along and take pictures of some of them. This is the first example of the Hubble taking pictures of one of these strange objects. And indeed, it's just a galaxy, but it has strange bilobes of gas coming out. They're not sure. This is a different one. Pretty cool. Quantities like that.
Kilos of gas?
Kilos of gas.
Yeah.
Great kilos.
Now, moving right along,
Yes,
you're probably
please.
wondering why we have the Cassini Spacecraft here, the model of it.
We are wondering why you're here.
Made out of paper hanging here. Well, because it casts such a cool shadow, and the real thing that's orbiting Saturn in our solar system takes some amazing photographs, like these photographs on the surface of Enceladus. Enceladus is the brightest, whitest, most ice-covered place we know in our solar system, a moon of Saturn. Quite an amazing place. It has on its southern poles erupting hot water geysers, which are throwing about a swimming pool full of hot water into space every second.
Whoa.
Maybe more, but they know that much is coming out of it. And because of that, I think you'd probably like to see.
The end of the show.
Yeah, you want to see? You want to see some radar images from Enceladus? They've got those down here.
These are all lies, Pete. They're all lies.
Oh.
It's going crazy! Whoa!
This show would have been over, and if you had provided the
That was
AV
wild.
squad, this would be done right now. But here you go. They've already taken optical pictures of Enceladus' surface. They show all the cracks in the ice where the geysers are erupting and throwing those swimming pools out into space. And here you see, now the radar comes along, and it, using a synthetic aperture, the giant parabolic dish on the Cassini orbiter, you can see it on the front of that paper model right there, bounces a signal off of the surface and gives you even higher resolution of the cracked, fissured ice surface of Enceladus, the moon of Saturn. We're glad to bring that to you right here.
Whoa!
Now, I'd like you to
On
know,
Craigslist.
there's some other important things here. Okay, we've had enough.
Is this on the quiz?
Very nice, very nice. And if I could ever find there. Now we've got. I want to point out. You were talking about that radio. I listened to that radio show, Radio Valencia. You
Yeah,
know
Radio
about it?
Valencia. You have a show there, I understand.
Radio
You're not
Valencia
allowed in the
Wednesday
studio.
has this great crew on Wednesday nights. It's the Brazilian astronaut is there, and I would like you to. The Brazilian astronaut does a show Wednesday night on Radio Valencia. 10 there. And yeah, he's been on the show 420 million times.
That's right.
The Brazilian astronaut. In fact, I think he's here right now.
No way.
I want to show you something though, before the Brazilian astronaut comes up and takes his rightful place here. This is my daughter with the Brazilian astronaut, making him happy. Brazilian astronaut and Mrs. Brazilian astronaut, come on up and take your seats up here. Who, let's get out of there, come on up and get better seats here. This is the star of Radio Valencia.
Hey,
She knows here on Lakeland, Dr. Fiasco and Mrs. Dr. Fiasco, taking their place, displacing the Grandmaster of the Live. There you are. Thank you very much. Proceed with the stupid show.
Pete Goldie, ladies and gentlemen. Pete Goldie. Thank you for the shaded applause, everybody. The shaded applause. Whoever said that gets kicked out. Pete Goldie, for you, I have a gift. I have a present for Pete Goldie. All the way from the reincarnated Shade Japanese bride. It's a Hello Kitty cookie all the way from Japan. That's for you. You can find it on the floor somewhere. Ladies and gentlemen, Pete Goldie will bore you, but he does entertain you in some respect, and education is part of what we do here at the Ask Dr. Hal show. I hope that you enjoyed that as much as I did. But if you did, well, good for you. Now go home and tell somebody something about the things that you learned.